servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Steve Ramona. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness business with a servant's heart. With host Steve Ramona ready. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona.
BrainShare Business Mentors proudly presents BrainShare.us, the ultimate business education platform, delivering the proven systems, processes, tools, and knowledge that empower you to build the business of your dreams. With 13 high-powered courses encompassing over 240 lessons accessed online on your schedule. Running a business is the hardest thing you'll ever do. We've helped thousands of business owners gain the leadership, communication, and business skills needed to build the business of their dreams. We can help you. Choose your learning path. Scuba Squad is the premier membership program for today's business leaders with access to all BrainShare material and double our money-back guarantee. BrainShare Basics, the ultimate business framework course, a hard-hitting 13-week program to lay the necessary foundation to build the business of your dreams. Or take individual courses as you need them. Every course has dozens of lessons, with video, practical exercises, precise documentation, and the opportunity for direct feedback from a BrainShare mentor. All programs have our exclusive 30-day money-back guarantee. No questions asked, don't wait. Choose your path and start today.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. Doing business in life with a purpose, serving others and achieving success. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. We created this show for you because we want everyone to be motivated, inspired, and educated to learn how to do business and live life to make an impact the world and just to live better. I want you to think about, as you listen to my incredible guest today, how will you serve today and what impact will you create from that service? I want to thank my two sponsors, BrainShare.us, build a business that works without you. Discover how to create a self-sustaining business that thrives even in your absence. You can have a business that doesn't tie you down. We'll guide you through the steps to build an enterprise to operate smoothly without your constant oversight. Visit BrainShare.us to learn how to set the foundations for a business that stands the test of time. With BrainShare Business Mentors, you can build a business that works without you. And my second sponsor, PitchDB. PitchDB.com, successfully connect with over 11,000 conferences, 3 million podcasts to be a guest and build your thought leader platform and scale your business. Increase your network and build your expertise. I've been using PitchDB and I've already booked a number of great speaking and podcast appearances, so I know it works. With that being said, I've mentioned impact a few times, and we're going to dive into suicide. It's prevalent, COVID. We all know that. I don't need to go too much farther in it, but this is an expert on that and how she's helping so many people not take that route. Deb, welcome to the show. It's a call too, I guess.
Thank you for having me.
Why'd you pick suicide? It's very stressful.
Well, it's really suicide prevention and that I picked. And where in the scope of suicide prevention that I chose to engage is really at the early stages. And I picked that because what that revolves more around is building connections between people. And I think that we can have an enormous impact and change the course of someone's life in a very small interaction. And I have a lot of training and expertise around crisis and trauma support. So sort of the further along end of suicide prevention. But what I really love the most is providing classes where people learn skills on how do I connect with someone. One of the things that I saw over and over again, and I hear from people, is that they care, they want to help. And I think there's this idea that sometimes people think, oh, people just don't care. They're isolated, because of all the electronic media, people are disconnected and they don't want to engage. And what I've found is that they just don't really know how to in a way that makes them feel comfortable. And they don't want to cause anybody any harm or do the wrong thing. And so, what I chose to do was get involved in the part of the connection where, you don't walk away as a counselor or therapist, you walk away knowing, okay, I can connect with someone and I can make a difference. And
yeah, I love that. I really do. But what's the connection between crisis and suicide?
I think what ends up happening is that, as far as, I just want to make sure I'm understanding the question, but what you're asking me, what is the connection between someone being in crisis and then someone thinking about suicide?
Yeah, they hear crisis and they hear suicide. To me, it's two different things, but I think I'm wrong.
Right. Well, I think what ends up happening is that people, it's generally, and if you look at the CDC, there's and a lot of other leading mental health organizations, the causes of people attempting to take their own lives, it's not generally just one thing. It is multiple factors. And so when someone gets to a point where they are truly in a crisis state, it may be because of one thing, but if there are other things that also have not been supported or attended to in their lives, that may be enough that they don't see a way forward. And then those thoughts of suicide can come into the picture. And so the whole goal is really to, way before someone is in a crisis situation where it could then lead to suicide, why not make the environment in which people are interacting, whether the community is one in which you're working or you're spending your free time or you're attending classes with someone, make that culture one where you can either go to somebody and offer support or someone can step forward and comfortably ask for it. And so that's where we're trying to push the focus. Like, let's go way back there and not say we can only step in when we feel that somebody is really in dire straits.
I like that. So the similarity would be we get colon checks. I do colonoscopies for colon cancer.
Right.
Let's get it before it gets too far. That's a big thing in cancer. You get it early, your survival rate grows.
Sure.
That's what you're saying about suicide rates, right?
Right. Or that as you see any kind of symptoms, you don't have to wait for it to be so far along that, that you're not really sure what to do at all because things have progressed to a point where someone is truly, at a crisis point. What you're really trying to do is get in there way early and say, let's try to help each other, at the beginning.
What are the tips? People are listening. What should they be looking for when somebody's in crisis, whether it's, themselves or they see it in somebody close to them? What tips can you give? Sure.
As far as looking to when you can connect with someone, and there are lists and lists of things, because if I were to say to you, what is something that's really upsetting to you? You're going to come up with a list of things that are different than mine. But basically, what we're really trying to do, and this is where, KEYS is an acronym. It means knowledge and empathy yield strength. And there are amazing suicide prevention classes out there. And where we're a little bit different is that we are trying to get people to understand that you can see something, but what you're really looking for is not an event, an occurrence, or a situation. What you're looking for is how that person is responding to it. And when you see somebody who, just because we're human, we've all experienced loneliness, heartbreak, shame, disappointment. When you see someone who's experiencing those feelings, that's where you want to get in there and connect with someone. And so it's less about a particular type of event, but there are some very common things that are out there. And we do have a section of our class that talks about it. And everything's interactive. So we teach something, you do an activity, teach it, do an activity. And we do have an activity where we talk about some of the situations, but I'm sure you can even think of them just as I'm saying those feelings where people that have had job loss or unexpected financial burdens or illnesses that are chronic or severe, the loss of somebody that you love, or the loss of a relationship, or a divorce, or a child who is struggling. There's all kinds of things out there that we can say this is an opportunity to connect, but really it's about how is the person in that situation responding to the event that's occurred or that is happening in their life.
That's great. And what is in your background that led you to here where you are today? What happened? Did something happen, or is it because something always starts this?
Yeah, I think that for me, I've always felt that we were put on this planet to help each other. And I say all the time that if we're not here to help each other, I honestly don't know what we're supposed to be doing here. And so throughout my life, I've tried to always give back in some way. And I've, always tried to engage in work where it's something that I feel like I'm helping people. And basically, when my kids were really small, I felt like I was a stay-at-home mom at that point, and I thought, what could I do? And so I started out, I used to take my kids to a state-run nursing home, and nobody was getting visited. So I would bring my kids in, and they were really little, so they didn't realize like the conditions, but the people were so excited to see them. And it was a little something that I could do once a week. And as they got older, I literally saw this poster. I don't even remember where I was, but it said something like, do you want to help people in crisis on the scene? Do you want to be a volunteer for the police and fire department? And that was in Las Vegas. And I had to go, said the kids are older, I can do this. So I went through this really extensive training. And when someone would die in the community, the police or fire department would call one of us in, and you would go and assess what the survivors needed until the person that had passed away was taken into the care of the funeral home or the medical examiner or coroner. And so it was really high stress. I mean, because you're there, the body's there, everybody's upset. You're trying to keep everything so that people have what they need, have resources for when you leave. And through that, I did that in Las Vegas, Nevada, and then Anchorage, Alaska, when we were stationed there. And through that, I was asked to take all different kinds of training classes. And I love to learn anything. So I was trained in critical incident stress management and debriefing, several different suicide prevention classes. And in one of them, they had a youth component. And Alaska has some of the highest rates of youth suicide. And my kids were in high school at this point, and one of the students at their school took her own life, and it was devastating. And so I just trying to keep it somewhat short of a story. But basically, I got together with another instructor and then some of the kids and said, do you guys want a class? And early one weekend morning, we said, we'll hold it at this like community center. And we had almost 50 kids show up. And we were blown away because we're thinking there's, who's going to come? And it ended up snowballing into this outreach. And I ended up being hired by the Department of Education through the University of Alaska. And I traveled all over the state and worked with middle school, high school, college age kids, school staff, community members, teaching suicide prevention. And it was all that early intervention focus of let's get in there and make these connections early on to resources. And then about 6 years ago, I left Alaska and came back to the DC area, Northern Virginia, which is where I'm from pretty much. And I was working Georgetown Hospital a little, then I got recruited to another national nonprofit serving military families. And then I was like, there is this need where, kind of back to the beginning of your questions, where people were feeling disconnected, but it wasn't that they didn't care and didn't want to connect with other people. They just didn't know how. And over and over again, people would say like, I saw this ad saying, oh, if you're worried about somebody, say something. What do I say? What, when is it the right time? Am I going to put the idea in someone's head? And so basically, I just thought, this is something I care about, I love, and I feel like I can make a difference in the world. And so I took an enormous leap of faith, and I left my job and started Keys 365. And it also allowed me to show up in my life for, family that my mom needed a little extra support. And I just thought, I'm just going to try this. And I, I just went full steam ahead. And after, my gosh, it was last fall, we were about a year in of offering classes. And I think I shared this with you before, but I was sitting there and I had all these requests for classes, and I had so much work to do on the back end, just like a website and accounting and all the different, stuff that you have to do to run a business. And I just sat there and I was like, okay, God, I am broke. I'm exhausted. I have so much work to do. People want this class. I'm getting amazing feedback, but I just need to know that I'm on the right path. And if I'm not on the right path, I will lay this down and go get a job tomorrow. And so just show me I am, and something has to be easy. And I didn't say something has to be easier. I was like, something has to be easy. And that was it, full stop on the prayer. And that weekend, I was getting together, I was going to this event, and people were asking me, oh my gosh, we haven't seen you in years. What are you doing for work? And I said, let's just talk. Let's have fun. Let's talk and catch up about personal stuff, but let's talk about work another time. And one of the other women there came up to me, and she's part of our board. And she said, I just talked to one of our other, people that were here. And she said, I just secured a donation for $20,000. And I shared everything about what's happening. And I literally could not stop crying. And Bill, is that you, or is that I don't know, something just opened. Okay. But it was this amazing moment. And it turns out that the owners of Bill Page Toyota said, we totally believe in this. We want to support the community. We are super into like doing things to make an impact in the world. And they were like, you can pick the check up on Tuesday. And it was just unbelievable. And 2 days after that, I got an email from the Virginia Bar Association, and they've said, we reviewed all your materials. We want you to come and present at the 134th annual meeting for the Virginia Bar Association. And you're going to come in contact with like attorneys from across the whole state of Virginia. This is going to help you get the word out. And it just literally has been like that. And so I was like, okay, God, I hear you.
Yeah, move forward. What's your mission for your Keys 365?
Absolutely. So the mission is to empower communities of people with real practical tools to be able to reach out and support other people within their community in an effective and impactful way, and either to foster a stronger community of support and connection, or really start to build one if it wasn't there, and just engage people in making a change, in a cultural change in how we look at mental health and how we look at supporting each other. Very often when I go in to different, I've taught for corporate retreats and student athletes, and I'll say, we had student athletes at Johns Hopkins, a whole big group of them. And I said, if one of you came in here limping, everybody immediately would say, oh my gosh, have you gone to the doctor? What's the matter? Are you going to PT? Are you getting the training? Are you sleeping well? But if somebody walks in with an emotional, injury, or they're struggling, we all hesitate. We don't immediately jump in. And so I would love for that to change.
It's great. That's such a great mission. And you're educating. Sounds like your big thing, empowering with education, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So everybody knows how to do that. They can walk up to somebody they think is having a crisis of mental health, whatever that may be, and be able to support them without pushing, being aggressive, being wrong. Because that's the thing I think people are afraid of. Oh my God, there's mental health. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Right.
You know,
we're hoping that it's before the crisis point.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, like, so if somebody is just going through a tough time, that's where we really can affect a change, and just go to somebody and say, you know, wow, I heard that, you know, you've lost a spouse through, it could be divorce or death or whatever, or a parent, or, you know, something's happened. You know, how are you feeling around that? And that is a lot different than saying, how are you doing? Because that is, we're all trained to go fine, you know, and I'm sure you've heard that from other of your guests. But one of the things we talk about is actually saying the words to someone, hey, I know we're both really busy, but I want you to know that I've set this time aside for you, and I'm here to listen to whatever you're comfortable sharing. Beautiful. And that, you know, that's a way that you can.
Yeah. And I had a guest on this week that fits you very well. I had 4 words that literally will change your communication. Help it. We say help, and I said it myself, and I got to correct myself. How can I support you with your mental health journey? That one word is a game changer. It opens the door for people being open as much as they want with you. So interesting with you, you love working out. Now, I used to work with health clubs. My family owned health clubs for 20 years. I know working out is great for stress relief, which helps with trauma, which helps with crisis. How's it important to you?
The biggest thing for me is that when I work out regularly, I sleep a lot better, and also just overall less crickety, because it just all over feels better. But one of the number one things for me is if I do not get enough sleep, I literally feel like the sky is falling. I mean, I am so envious of those people that say, oh, I only need 5 hours of sleep. I'm like, I don't even know how to just deal with people like that. You know, I need a solid 8 hours, and working out for me does that. It helps to keep that in balance.
A great proponent for people you work with. I know other people work in mental health. Movement is big. It was big in our fitness industry. People moving, they felt better if they got out. Yeah, they were tired and sore, but overall, their mindset was different. So
it's cool to incorporate into your everyday. Like it also does help as far as your job situation, because I was the manager for this nonprofit, the manager of the National Military Survivor Helpline. And one of the things we did was we were all connected through this group chat all day. So as calls were coming in, if we had questions, I have somebody that needs this, we could help each other out. And I was like, I really need to drink more water. So one of the other gals and I did this little deal where at the top of the hour, you had to type in H2O, which meant you drank some water. And if it got to 5 minutes past and you had not typed in H2O, then you had to do, like, we made a physical challenge. Like you had to do 10 squats, or, you know, you could try, and I'm terrible at push-ups, but you could try and do push-ups or whatever it was. And I remember that I was doing squats in my office, and a couple of people walked by and they looked in, and all of a sudden I was like super embarrassed that here I am like doing squats, you know, in the middle of the day in the office. And these 2 girls are like, oh, we're on our way to do this lunch workout thing. Do you want to come with us? And, you know, I couldn't go in that case, but I was like, that's the environment that we want to be in. One where it's like, not, you know, what are you doing? And that's so weird and all that, but more like, oh, that's exciting that you've found a way to, you know, the penalty is better physical health.
Yeah. It's cool that you're doing it. You know, we can't do that, but it's cool that you're doing that. You see, I used we instead of I want to share that tip, because people go we, because it is we, because there was 2 of them and it doesn't matter. And I like that, because new stuff kind of bring fear to people. But you got to be uncomfortable to be comfortable. Yeah. That's flat out. We're getting to the end of the time here. What does the future look like for Keys 365?
Basically, what the main thing I want people to know is that we are a 501c3. Everything that we offer is free. One of the biggest barriers to people getting suicide prevention education is the time. Again, it's not they don't care. It's just, when do I have time for this? And our class is not only free, we'll go wherever you want us to go. And we package it in 60 to 90 minutes, depending on what it is that you're looking for. So it's really a call to action and a start to getting involved, but we're available for follow-up resources afterward. And just want people to know, whether you're doing a corporate retreat, whether it's a team, whether it's a a group of people that are in a club together, we will come to you. We will teach. It's free. You just reach out to me at keys365.org, and we'll be there.
You're a blessing, major blessing. How can people get a hold of you to learn more about Keys 365?
Probably the easiest way is through our website. All roads lead to me on that, whether you fill out the contact card or you call the phone number. Yeah, I will get the message. They can always email me. But the email is on the website as well. And we would love to hear from anyone. So yeah, I flew to Oregon to teach, people who are training service dogs for veterans with PTSD. I'm probably going to Atlanta to one of the universities down there. Wherever it is, I'm on the Fort Meade Resilience Center resource list in Maryland. So whatever you need, I am there.
Well, I appreciate that. I thank you, because like I said, you are a blessing. And audience, reach out to her. Comment on the YouTube when I put it out there. It'll be out in a couple of days. I'll get the information to her, or reach out to her through her website. Use the podcast. Use the YouTube. It's got forward and backwards for a reason. You can pick, and choose where you want to go to. And if you got somebody in crisis or thinking or talking suicide, reach out to her. I know we've talked before, and she's willing to do that. It could be a complete life changer for you and the person.
If somebody is really in crisis, 988 is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. They will give you advice on how to help someone else or for yourself. It is a fabulous starting place, and definitely 988 is important. And you really are amazing. And I thank you so much for having me on, because this is like lifting each other up. That's what it's about, Uplift.
That's what we need to do as humans, as a community. I don't want to forget my two sponsors, pitchdb.com and brainshare.us. And don't forget about the podcast swag, your hats, t-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve shirts, doing business with a servant's heart. Let's get that message out there. Yeah, it's my podcast, but it's also a great message. It's a great message Deb's talking about. And I'll see all of you at the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Thank you all.